to the channel. Starting with number 2, light gray. Now that's a color with a kind of quiet intelligence, don't you think? It's not just neutral, it's strategic. You put it on the walls of a small living room, and suddenly, space itself starts playing tricks on the eyes. Light gray has this incredible ability to recede, almost like it's whispering to the edges of the room, "Hey, let's stretch out a little." And that's physics, by the way. The human eye perceives lighter colors as expanding, while darker ones contract. Optical science at its finest. But let's go deeper. What actually makes light gray work? It's the perfect balance between black and white, and that's where the magic happens. The reflectance value, what designers call light reflectance value, or LRV, can range anywhere from 50 to 80% for a good light gray. That means it bounces back over half the light that hits it. More light reflection, more spatial perception. Sherwin-Williams' Repose Gray, for instance, has an LRV of about 58, just enough to be airy, but not stark. Compare that to Agreeable Gray, which sits around 60, softer, warmer, and just a touch more welcoming. And let's talk chemistry. The pigments that create light gray are a mix of titanium dioxide, one of the highest refractive index materials known to man, along with small amounts of black iron oxide or ultramarine. Titanium dioxide is a fascinating compound. It was first mass-produced in the early 20th century, and today it's responsible for the opacity of everything from paint to toothpaste. Without it, your walls wouldn't have that crisp, velvety finish. But light gray isn't just about perception and chemistry. It's about psychology, too. It's a color associated with calm, order, and clarity. In fact, studies in environmental psychology show that rooms painted in cooler, neutral shades can help reduce stress levels. Think about that. Just changing the wall color can affect cortisol levels. Amazing, right? And here's something practical. Light gray works with almost anything. That's why architects and designers love it. It pairs seamlessly with white trims, natural woods, or even bold accent colors. You want a Scandinavian-inspired space? Light gray and soft oak. Modern and minimalist? Light gray and stark white. Traditional elegance? Light gray with navy blue and brass. It's versatile, timeless, and sophisticated without demanding attention. And that's the beauty of it. Light gray doesn't shout, it suggests. It doesn't dominate, it enhances. And for a small living room, that's exactly what you need. Lastly, we will talk about white. Now that's a fascinating one, because white isn't even a color, right? It's what happens when all wavelengths of visible light are reflected instead of absorbed, every single one, bouncing right back into your eyes. And yet, for centuries, we've treated white as the ultimate color of purity, clarity, and even power. Think about it. Ancient Greek sculptures weren't left white by design. They were painted in bright colors, but time stripped them down to raw marble. And what did neoclassical architects do in the 18th and 19th centuries? They built pristine white monuments, believing that white was the ideal aesthetic of classical antiquity, when in reality, those ancient buildings were covered in reds, blues, and golds. Now, in a small living room, white does something remarkable. It expands. Not physically, of course, but perceptually. Because of its high albedo, meaning its reflectivity, white reflects up to 80% of the light that hits it. Compare that to a dark color like navy blue, which might absorb more than 70% of the light, making a room feel smaller and more enclosed. And here's a fun detail. NASA's thermal control coatings for spacecraft often rely on white surfaces because they minimize heat absorption. That's right. The same principle that keeps your small living room feeling airy is also keeping satellites from overheating in space. But here's where things get really interesting. White isn't just white. In paint, pure white is almost never used. It's modified with subtle undertones, tiny additions of red, yellow, blue, or gray, changing its warmth or coolness. A warm white, like Benjamin Moore's Simply White, contains a hint of yellow, making a space feel cozy, while a cool white, like Sherwin-Williams' Extra White, has a touch of blue, giving a crisp, modern feel. And if you go too stark, well, ultra-bright white, like the infamous Decorator's White, can make a room feel sterile, almost clinical. That's why museums carefully calibrate their whites, to highlight art without making it feel cold. And historically, white has always had meaning beyond aesthetics. In the Renaissance, artists ground lead carbonate to create lead white, an essential pigment. but also highly toxic. By the 20th century, titanium dioxide revolutionized paint, creating a safe, bright, and durable white, leading to its dominance in modern interiors. And here's a fun fact. Pablo Picasso's transition to his blue period was partially influenced by the availability of different white pigments. Even in science, white plays a key role. Consider that ice appears white because of tiny air bubbles scattering light in all directions, just like clouds, which can reflect up to 90% of sunlight, keeping our planet cool. Now, what's the best white for a small living room? That depends on light. Natural light makes white glow, while artificial lighting can shift its tone dramatically. But one thing is certain, white remains the most timeless, flexible choice. And that's it for this one. Best paint colors for small living rooms. We covered light gray earlier, and now white. So tell me, which one do you prefer? Let me know in the comments. Like the video, subscribe for more deep dives, and check out our next video for even more interior design secrets.